Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Here we are, this is the one you've been waiting for, guys, part 8B. Now, I don't know how far we're going to get with this, but I'm just going to do some filming, and when I think I've got to somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, I'll stop. So there might be an 8C, this might be it, let's wait and see. So, okay, I'm still doing the cockpit now, and I've got the, you can see now I've got the fuselage halves masked up, ready to paint the cockpit, and I've got this joining line here. This is where this part fits in. Okay, so that's going to go in there like so. Now, if you remember in the last part what we did, we glued this on. I've now gone around the edge with Mr. Surfacer and sanded all that in so it's nice and smooth and neatly in there and everything. And I've also, you can see the green on the dials, I've masked them off, so that's ready for painting green. I was going to mask off these panels that are going to be painted black. I'm not going to bother now. I'm going to have to paint it green, give it a gloss coat, put the decals on, and then put it in. This panel here, I don't know why I didn't fit it before I fitted the plastic part, but either way, wherever you are in your build, it still goes in. It's just a bit awkward, that's all. So this part here is going to need to go in, so we'll put that in there. That's going to be super glued in place. And then if we go back to the Airscale instructions, it says on here about we're getting ready now to fit our instrument panel to the kit instrument panel, and it says on here to remove sound kit part R4 to remove all face detail and give a flat mounting surface for PE part 8. PE part 8 is the big one here in the middle, so we're getting ready to put that on. This is R3, this is R4. Now the kit parts, the difference is in, I think we've shown you this before, this one is flat faced, so you use the kit decals which are supplied with the kit, which is nice, and this one has all the moulded on detail, so you can actually paint it if you want to. Now I don't know why they've made this in clear. I guess you could paint this black from behind and then paint the detail on the front. I don't know, I don't know, but I don't know why they made this in clear. It's a bit like the old trumpeter kits when they used to have clear instrument panels and there was no real purpose for it, because you put a film behind and there were holes in the instruments anyway, so it wasn't for instrument glass. It's a bit strange. Anyway, what we've got to do here is tell us to sand all the detail off. The other difference I've noticed with these two, this is R3, this is R4. This one's got the table on the bottom. There's a map table that goes underneath here that slides in and out. The kit actually has the table. I'll show you in the instructions here. Where are we? There we go. We have the table there, which is part E42, and there's also a decal to go on it of a map. So you can use that if you want to. So we're going to use this one, R4, which is the one with without any detail on it, and it's got to be sanded flat to remove the detail so we can stick the PE on. Now basically if you look at the surrounding panel, it's flat, so all I've got to do is put this on a pretty coarse stick and just make sure I keep it flat. You don't want to start rubbing and taking all this off here. You notice there's quite a big lump in the centre, and I'll tell you what, this is quite a soft plastic. I will get away with cutting that off rather than sanding it all the way. So I've cut that big lump off the middle. Now we can just gently sand, and don't go mad with this. Don't start getting in there and going crazy sanding away too fast, because you'll start to get things hot. You'll clog your sanding stick up, you'll melt the plastic. If you catch an edge, it'll probably shatter on you, because although it's quite soft for clear plastic, it's still clear plastic, and it is habitually brittle, unfortunately. So there we go. I'm just going to keep sanding until all that detail disappears, and what I can do is put this board down and rub the panel like so. As I say, keep stopping, coming away, having a look, letting it cool down, and then go back down. Come back, have a look. Now I'm starting to sand there, so I need to put some more pressure on this side now. So I'm going to put more pressure on this edge here. The main thing is keeping it as flat as possible. The problem is holding it, so what you can do sometimes, I'm not sure if this will work, get a piece of blue tack, get it nice and sticky, stick the blue tack on like that, then you can sand away to your heart's content. Again, I'm still trying to keep the pressure on this side, because I don't want to just sand this away to nothing. There we go. And a little bit of information for you guys that are with the doing the group build with me on the Typhoon. I've actually ordered a photo etch seat now. A resin seat from Hannets. You can get the quick boost resin seat with harnesses, and it's about £3.50, and they've got plenty in stock. So if that's what you want to do, then I think I was looking at scratch building a seat or cutting up the photo etch, and I thought, oh no, I can't. I just really can't be bothered. I'm quite sort of fed up with that kit, actually, quite annoyed about it all, because it's turned out to be a bit of a dog, to be honest. So I just hope at the end of the day we can make a nice airplane out of it. But certainly the newer Edard Typhoon is a lot nicer. So just going to keep sanding this away. You don't want to watch me do this, do you? That's that done then. So I've sanded this one down as well, again using the lump of blue tack. So that's that part there, which is, what is that number of that part? It is where is it going on? Here it is there, R2. So it's that little part there, and if you're doing the Airscale instrument panel, you've got parts 4 and 5, I believe, that go on there. Yes, you can see them, 4 and 5, and I've already got the decals on there. If you want to see about putting the decals on, if you go back to watch the Airscale videos, you'll see it on there. If you're watching this now as part of the build, and if you didn't know, what I'm doing is taking pieces of this out of this build and actually putting them together to make an Airscale, you know, how I do the Airscale cockpit. So it's just the Airscale related bits, so it won't include any painting or anything like that. So then, so now we've done that, so we need to fit that part 8 onto there. So I'm going to get the photo etch fret out, and if you remember, I did a review on these little cheap nail cutters you can get on eBay, and someone suggested they're really good for photo etch, and sure enough, they are. They're brilliant for photo etch. I generally cut on a flat board, I must be honest, but I must be honest, these things, you can use them like a pair of scissors and cut out your photo etch parts all day long, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to have to go around the edge with a sanding stick or a file and just remove the little nibs. They might be easier to see from behind. I didn't realise I painted the back as well. Don't recall doing that, but hey, never mind. And all this paint's going to get touched up in the end anyway, or you can just leave it as is, because sometimes it can look quite accurate with chipping and damaging and stuff. That's one of the good things about having the nickel silver rather than the brass, because when it chips it leaves a silver colour behind rather than the gold brass, which is a good thing. And there we go, that's them all gone. There we are, and then that should fit on there in normal Airscale style perfectly, like that. Absolutely gorgeous, look at that, perfect fit. Now I'm guessing that there is a lightning hole. There's nothing else going in there, so that's going to have to be drilled out, and I'll probably do that afterwards, because if I do it now it's likely to just shatter the plastic part. So I'm going to get this glued on, and I expect you want to see how I do this. So I think what I'll do, I think I'll use the Gorilla Glue, this Gorilla Wood Glue. I'll use this again, and then I may go around the edge afterwards with some thin CA, and I'll show you how I do that. So I'm just going to put some on here, put a few blobs in certain areas, and then I can just squeeze it all out. It's fairly fast drying this, it's very good, and it also dries very hard, and it dries crystal clear, so that's a good thing. So we could just put that on there and then position it all around. I'm just squeezing the edges to try and get it all sat equally, and all I don't want to do is get any finger marks over that decal. There's a little decal you can see there. Where is it? There we go. Little decal you can see there. So I don't want to get any glue on that. Just give that a squeeze. I'm just going to get a cotton bud, just wet it and remove the glue that's coming through there, because that will affect the fit of the parts that go on top. Okay, and then I'm going to remove those smudges of glue I got on there. Right. Well, I've just realised there's something I haven't told you about the other part, the starboard sidewall. So I'm just going to get this properly wet. So it's properly wet now. I just want to make sure I've got no remnants of glue on there, because as I say, once it dries, it's not like PVA, it doesn't just roll off, it dries quite hard. There we go. And that can just sit there for 10 minutes to dry, and then we can get back on it. The other thing I forgot to say about this part here, if you look here, there's these tiny little holes. If you can see them, if the camera will pick up on them, there's tiny little holes in the panel, and that's for switchgear. So what you do is, as I've done here, you drill through these tiny little holes. Okay, drill them through. These are I think I drilled these 0.4, and then those above are 0.5, and then you put pieces of wire in there, cut it off, and they'll depict little toggle switches, and really does bring your cockpit to life. I'll show you that though, you will see that. In fact, yeah, having said that, I talked about this being maybe being the last part. It definitely won't be. This is probably going to be a part 8, 8C, maybe even an 8D, because all that takes quite a while. I'm sure you want to see it all. What I'll do, as I said before, when I get tired of photo etch, I'll just move along, go back on the engine or something, do something else. I don't carry on modelling. I don't model or build something I don't want to do at that time. If I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. Let's just get something to get in there. Just want to get in there and just remove that glue from there. There we go. It doesn't matter, I'm going to be drilling those through anyway. There's another couple of holes there, so that'll all be drilled through. And if you remember, when I actually did the stack up with, where's the photo etch gone? Where did the photo etch go? It has disappeared. There it is. We did the stack up with this, where I glued, that was part 2. When I glued part 2 to part 1, I used those 2 drills. I'll do the same again to get all this sandwiched up, to get that onto there and to get that onto the front. Put the 2 drills through, and then you can just sandwich it all together. You know it's all going to line up, and then we've got these tiny little holes to drill in through there as well. So there we go, that's that glued on. I just want to make sure I'm still finding little bits of glue on here. Okay, moving on to step 7 here in the instructions. what it's telling me here is for the right hand triangle instrument panel, this one, add decal 2 to part 4, which I've done. Decal 2 is on part 4, and align with part 5. Align the 2 straight edges with kit part R2, and taking care to line up the tab at the bottom of the part. The PE part is correctly shaped and will overhang the kit part slightly on the curved edges. So the 2 straight edges are this one and this one. So what I'm going to do here is line this up like so. Now what it's actually saying is line the 2 straight edges. Do they mean that edge and that edge, or that edge and that edge? It's obviously the bottom. Yeah, I'm guessing, looking at this, it looks like you're going to line up this edge and this edge. You can't have it sticking out towards the right anymore because it won't go in. So you can't go wrong. If you go it this way, looking at this picture here, it looks like it's overhanging. Let's just have a look when it's fitted into that slot. Yeah, so what you're doing, I can guarantee you, if you're using this as an instructional thing, you're going to use this edge and this edge to line this part up. And I've just noticed this black paint is rubbing off the back very easily, so what I'm going to do is remove it with a stick. I think a lot of it may just be overspray, because the way that's coming off of there, yeah, it's just overspray. So what we'll do is we'll get some glue on here. Where's my little cocktail stick on? There it is. So we'll get some glue on here, just spread it around, and then we can put this on and then float it about. Give it a squeeze. And there we go. I just want to get those edges lined up. Give it a squeeze. There we go. So that's lined up on there. So we can wait for that to dry. Right, so moving along here, I've removed these panels from the fret. They're sort of kind of, you can see a little bit chipped and stuff, which you could say looks a bit realistic. I'm going to give them a quick coat of X18 semi-gloss black, just to sort of cover up all the edges and everything. I'm going to have to go over the edges again afterwards, after everything's glued, but I just want to make sure I don't have any chipping really close to the dials. That's going to be really difficult to pick up on later. If after I do this I get another couple of chips, then fine, but I just want to try and make it look as nice as possible, and then I can chip it up myself where I want the chips rather than just where they happen to be. So I'll just give this another little quick light coat of paint, and then we can get on and start looking at putting it all together. And there we are. Look, we can see they've got a nice sort of semi-matte sheen to them now, semi-gloss sheen should I say. So let those go hard. I may give them a quick coat of clear, semi-gloss clear, just to protect it, but we'll see. As long as I don't handle it too much, I should be fine. It's just that when it all gets chipped, I'd rather have it looking new and then knock it back myself rather than have it chipped because it's been used. And while I had the black paint in the airbrush, I just did a bit of pre-shading in the cockpit just to add some sort of depth to it really. So what I'm going to look at now is getting this panel here glued in, because I'm going to have to do my little Vista Surfacer thing again, I think. So we shall see. So this panel here is curled up. I'm just going to try and get it sort of a little bit flatter. Unfortunately, curling up is part of the etching process. If there's any surface tension in the material, obviously if you remove, if this is a sheet of material here that's got equal surface tension on each side, if I remove this side, it's going to pull that way because I've removed the tension from here, so this side will pull it like that. So that's basically what happens, and unfortunately it's pretty much unavoidable, I believe. So this, if you've already glued this side panel in like I have, then putting this in is a little bit awkward. It has to go underneath this lever here, and it also has to go under that cable coming down from that box there, and it also has to go behind this throttle quadrant part. So it kind of has to hook in there and then push the back down first, and then it will kind of go in. It's a bit awkward. So hook it under there, into the back, and then it will go in. Yeah, my advice, if you haven't built this yet, is to put this in before you glue the part in. Sorry, I'm telling you the wrong way. You hook it in here, underneath this lever here. So hook this end in, then tip it up towards you, hook it down behind the throttle quadrant, and then push it down. That's it. That's how it goes. And then you need to nudge it back to make sure it's equal about around this part here. So that's all in place there. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use super glue, and I'm going to get some of the thin. Got my thin super glue here. Somebody asked me what super glue I use. I could have sworn I had Vital Bond, which is what this one here is. This is Vital Bond. This one's old and gone off. So yeah, this is Expo, and this is the thin. You can see it's very, very thin and watery. Got my trusty old Pringles lid and my glue looper. So what I'm going to do here is just use this glue looper, and I'm going to put a spot of glue in the middle first, under here. And this stuff is, as I say, it's getting on a bit, so it takes a little bit longer to dry, which is we could use to our advantage. If this was brand new, that would have gone off. Now it'd be gone. It'd be done in second, in 1 second sort of thing. But this sort of gives you 10 seconds to work with it, and I could just make sure it's in the middle, and there we go. That's in like that. Then I'm going to put some glue under. Where's my looper? Put some glue under this end here, just like so. Push that down, and then I can let some wick in from the sides. Like so. And then just put some underneath in here, and then give that a little push down. And now what you can do, because I've got this glue looper and it's so thin, I can now wick the glue off of here into the join, like so, and the capillary action will pull it in, just like your extra thin goes into your plastic parts. Do the same here, just using the edge, and then get a cotton bud and just rub over the end. Don't roll it, rub it, and that will just remove any excess glue that's left on there. And I want to make sure that middle piece has gone down nicely, so I'm just going to get some glue on the edge of there, let that wick in, and then just give it a push down. In fact, I'll push it down with a cotton bud, just wipe the excess, and there we go, that's down. And I have an apology to make, guys. I was talking about what I thought were holes here. They're not holes. They're actually just indentations in the panel to portray riveting. So they're not actually holes at all. The holes you get are like where we get holes of this panel here. You can see them if I try and point them out for you. You can see them along here. Along, where are they? There's two there. There's two holes. You draw those out, and then you can put switches in them. And that's one of the beauties about these Airscale sets. They always give you all the positions. They don't actually give you the levers, but they do give you the positions to get them in. And there we go, guys. That's that panel in. Happy with that. And then our throttle quadrant will sit on there after everything's all painted up and done. So we're just sort of waiting for stuff to dry now. What I am going to do is just put some super glue on here just as an extra little guarantee. Just run it around that edge. And also on here. Should be able to get some to run up and be underneath this panel. There we go, you can see it going under now. Get the cotton bud around the edge. Do the same here. Wipe it off the front because you don't want it on the front. It's going to have to be repainted anyway, but and there we go. And I could probably just put some around the top here. And you can see it going in as it turns the area darker. There you go. And it's just a little assurance. And this is something else I suggest, guys, if you're using Edward and it's self-adhesive, I always do this. I never trust the adhesive on the Edward photo etch because it never seems that sticky to me. I'm not sure if everybody feels the same as me. I think probably most modelers do. Back it up with some super glue or something. There we go, that's all secure now. So this has already gone off and everything, so that doesn't need any more glue. This is all fine. I don't think this is going to need the Mr. Servicer treatment. I'll have to check my references, but that's all gone down lovely. And I'm not sure we're even going to see these lightning hole areas here, but if we do, it looks better to be able to see through them than just see a piece of grey plastic behind there. So there we go, that's that done. I'm just going to put some more along that front edge. Just a quick tip, guys. I put this panel in, as you've just seen, after I'd glued this plastic part into the sidewall of the fuselage. It really does need to go on beforehand. I think I've actually got, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick this up, but I've actually got a step here and it should be further back on the panel, but I can't get it in now because I've glued it into the side of the fuselage. So what I'd recommend, glue that panel onto this plastic panel first, and then you won't have the same problems I've got. I'm not really going to do too much about it because when it's in there and it's sort of over on this angle, no one's really going to see much of it anyway. It's just, the nice part about it is it has all this raised detail, whereas the plastic part is just flat, and also it covers up a seam line where this part glues on here. So it's a nice to have. But just make sure you glue it on before you glue that panel in. That's why this is what I'm doing this for, so we can learn from my mistakes. Right, so now we've got the paint is dry on these instrument panel here that I've done in semi-gloss black XX18, and now I've also painted the instrument panel again. I've made a little mask and masked off that gauge, and I've just given that a coat of flat black. I've also glued the shroud on as per the instructions just to get that all painted at once, and then once this is all done, that will go on there and we'll get the contrast of the semi-gloss black against the matte black, which will add to things a little bit. So what I'm going to do, this is something I haven't tried before on a model. I've done an experiment. I've glued a piece of clear acetate onto the back of here and it's stuck down well. I'm going to use Johnson's Clear. Now I've heard people use this in the car modelling world for adding, you know, tiny parts to their models after they're finished. So I'm going to give this a go. So I've got Johnson's Clear here. This is a very old bottle. I think it's, I don't know, 20 years old, 30 years old maybe. It's very old. I don't think you can get this anymore, but you can get its equivalent. So what I'm going to, I've got a wooden stick, and I'm just going to literally put a drop onto the front of here, onto the front of there and onto the front of there. Okay, and then put the lid back on in case I knock it over, and then I'm just going to pick up my clear pieces of acetate, place them on, give them a nudge down and let the clear run around the edges. Do the same with this one. Just put that into place, and then the same with this one. Remember, this one has got a fold in it, so you need to keep the acetate away from the fold. And there we go. And that, my friends, is as simple as that. Just push it down, get the air out from under it, and then I think I'll get a cotton bud, and I'll just like a decal, just roll the cotton bud over and just push the air out and get any excess off the front. Oops, that's slidden off. I need to put some more on there. Okay, that's down now. It doesn't matter if it doesn't go perfectly to the edge, as long as it's covering all the faces. That's all you're trying to achieve. There we go. So I'll leave those to get set now for a while, and then we can go from there. Okay, while those panels or everything are drying on the Airscale set, I've decided to go around and do a bit of work on the actual cockpit. I've gone in with the sky colour and done some pre-shading around to make the black sort of pop, and then the green will lay over this. You've got to remember, guys, when you're looking at this, it's going to be like that. You're looking at it quite an angle, there's not a lot to see. You need to make it all sort of pop, and if it's all just green, it needs to have some tonality to it to make it pop out. So I've done the same on here, light areas that should show through the green. I think I may need to put some more on here actually, but yeah, you can see the pre-shading on there, just sort of highlighting the centers of the panels. So when I put the green on, that should come through, and then we'll have to do some chipping on the rudder pedals, some scraping on the floor sliders, and just a bit of general washing and weathering all over it. So it's very nice, and out of the box it's lovely, isn't it? The Airscale set really does make a difference, but yeah, it's nice enough out of the box. I've also just remembered I didn't put these sills on, so I've glued them on, and I've put some Mr. Surfacer in there to yeah, that Hobby World USA, I think it is. He says every time I say that word he has a drink, so have another one. Mr. Surfacer in there. That'll get wiped out now with some alcohol. I think Airfix have missed the trick here. If you look at close-up photographs of Hellcats, in fact I'll find one for you now. Yeah, here we go. You can see the detail here. There's a rail running along here for the canopy to slide on, and the Airfix kit has nothing there at all. It's got the rail at the rear behind it, which you can see on another picture I think on the previous page. You can see it's got this one here, it's got that detail there, but with the canopy open there's nothing at all. So really you're going to have to model your kit with the canopy closed to make it look accurate, or add something there. It's I think I may add something there because it does look a bit bland without it, so watch this space for something coming. So yeah, that's the pre-shading done, so get the rest done now. Alright, so that's the highlighting done, so now we'll get some green on there. I've got some Guns 58, this is the interior green, and I'm just going to lightly spray this on. This is a very heavily thinned mix, so I can control the depth and the effect. Make sure you get all the angles. Paint the rails, but I think they're going to have a lot of work in this area done after the cockpit is assembled. So I'm not going to worry too much about these rails for now. You can see here just lightly building the paint up to let that effect come through of the sky underneath. There you go, that's practically it. A little bit more around the bottom. And there we go. That's the cockpit interior green with the pre-shading showing through. Now as it dries it will become more effective, so we need to come back to that and look again in a second, so I'll just do the other side. Again, making sure I get all the angles. You can see how light the paint is when it goes on the paper. I'm hardly putting anything on, just building it up slowly. Come from the other way now. One of the things I'm noticing with this kit, it's all the plastic's got quite a texture to it, so I think it's going to be quite a problem when we come to do the outside, especially if you want a glossy finish. I think we'll have to do a lot of sanding and priming and being careful not to ruin all that lovely detail as well. Just lay some paint on this floor and bulkhead, and there we go, I'm out of paint. So there we go guys, that's the cockpit all painted. You can see there we've got the pre-shading showing through. I've taken all the masking off so now you can see the difference in the chromate. So now we're going to be into our washes and dry brushing and stuff, and I'm finishing off all the photo etch from the Airscale set. You can see how good that looks now with some green paint on it. You can see, is it focusing? Yeah, you can see it. The photo etch makes all the difference to that side panel. So what we want to do now is give all this a gloss coat, get some decals on there, put those tiny little knobs on. Remember we cut off the original parts, and then we're pretty much done. So I'm going to call that a day for this because it's probably nearly an hour, and so this has been part 8B. So as I said earlier, there will be a part 8C, and 8C is basically going to be washes, dry brushing, bit of weathering, decals and stuff. There may even be a part 8D. So there's a lot of work to go into this cockpit. I think probably you'll spend as much time on this as you will on almost the rest of the model, I guess, the assembly part anyway. So let's call that a day for now, and I'll see you all real soon with part 8C, I guess. Just one final word guys before I go. You're probably wondering about the seat. Here it is. Here is the seat, and I have had email back from HGW, and apparently the seat belt should be ready sometime this week. So fingers crossed they'll arrive sometime this week. So what's that, before the 10th or whatever, before the 12th. So yeah, they're sending me some, so I will review them on here and I will build them on here with this model. They may even send me 2 sets, who knows, so I'll have them for both aircraft. and if it turns out that the FAA version did in fact have a Sutton harness, then I can do a little competition or something and give the others away. So basically, there we go, guys. So yeah, the HGW seatbelts are on their way, and they will probably be here this week. So keep your fingers crossed, keep your eyes open, and then as soon as they arrive, then we can get some ordered. In fact, as soon as they probably tell me when they've sent them. So as soon as they've sent them, they'll obviously be able to be on their site and be ordered. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled, and I'll see you all real soon with part 8C, I guess. And then maybe in between we'll do some more building, maybe do some work on the wings or whatever. And we need to also get the Fleet Air Arm sample up to scratch as well. And yeah, we've got our engine together now, and here's the master for the resin part that I'm making for the engine. So you can see that's all ready to go. I'm just waiting for the silicon to arrive to make the mold. So I'll see you all real soon. Bye for now.